Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Advocacy. Tonight we have with us Tracy Wright. So we also have my co-host Crystal, and we are so excited. Listen, I can't even talk. We're so excited to have people on the go with us, and Tracy is a representative of people of the go. Before we start, I just want to say how I did meet Tracy some years ago, and I was one of the partners in a partnership program with the state. And when Tracy came in and she spoke with us, man, I was just taken away. Her and Matt were a wealth of information. And when we went to an expo, when we saw her, I was so happy that she agreed to come on the show. So, with that being said, Tracy, we'll turn it over to you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go right into tell us a bit about people on the go.
Sure. I'm Tracy Wright. I'm a proud mom of four and a grandmom of one, and that's enough. And I've had the pleasure of working with people on the go now in my current role as Deputy Director of People on the Go, as well as Director of Training for almost 4 years now.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about people on the go. I know I've heard about it and I've heard the great things that you guys do, but let our audience know, what does people on the go do?
People on the Go is Maryland's largest statewide self advocacy group. We have about 500 members from across the state. Um, we hold quarterly meetings and we hold bi weekly meetings. We're very involved in the legislative process in Maryland. We also hold policy meetings and where we educate our members about the pieces of legislation that are being proposed in the legislature. And then we make sure that our members know about the importance of being a voter and being involved in that whole process. We work with many partners throughout the state and we make sure that our members have a chance to learn as much as they would like to learn and grow as much as they would like to learn and grow. We are a small staff of three. We have three full-time staff who all identify as people with disabilities. Our executive director, Matt Rice, which is who you met, and we have our public, our program coordinator, James Orman, as well, and he works very closely with me with the training component, and we are um, really trying to grow our group and grow as many opportunities as we can to let people develop skills and become really leaders in whatever area they want and grow their advocacy skills.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And so I was wondering, is people on the go specifically to Maryland, or is it like a nationwide organization, or just something that's statewide with Maryland State?
We're a statewide organization, and we're funded through a lot of our grants. Um, we have a grant currently through the Developmental Disabilities Council, and with that, we do a lot around helping um, with working on policy and making sure people are educated about the importance of being involved in the legislative process. We also do a lot around helping um, our local groups because since we're a statewide group, there are local groups in different areas of the state, and we make sure that those groups feel connected and get connected. And if they're having any trouble growing, because after the pandemic, everything, people before the pandemic were meeting in person and really doing a lot of activities in person. And then during the pandemic, everybody had to go virtual, and it was harder, I think, for people with disabilities. It was hard on everybody, but particularly people with disabilities, because a lot of times people didn't have access to technology. We didn't know
Yes.
about technology, so it was really a time where we really had to figure out how we could um, support our members and keep growing and figure out what our community needed so we could keep offering it in ways and stay connected with people, because that is so important for everybody to feel part of their communities and be connected and be supported.
Absolutely. Now, when you're
Mhm.
saying like making sure that people stay connected and they're involved like with what's going on with legislature and stuff, I'm not sure I didn't get to share this with you, Tracy, but I live in Michigan. And so I am a part of an advocacy group, like I'm a member of the group. And I will tell you, sometimes hearing a lot of the information going on in our state, it's a lot. And it's like a lot to, it's like a huge bite, and it's hard to chew sometimes. And sometimes you don't know where to start, but that was a good starting place for me. And then the encouragement of like writing letters, and if you need help, and here's a template, and this is what we're reaching out for. This is our concern. Literature, whatever it is, but it's so much. And so when you're reaching out to the community there in Maryland, like what is a good place for people to start who want to be in the know, who want to get connected, and they just don't know, because it can be very overwhelming sometimes.
Well, for us, People in the Go is, of course, like I said, we're a statewide organization and we have a website, and
Hmm.
we have started a lot of different groups for our members. We get a lot of feedback from our members on what they feel they need. So
Hmm.
we really, and we try to break everything down. I'm a very big supporter of plain language, because I
Yeah.
think it makes it easier for everybody to understand,
Yes.
and it keeps the bigger words just keep a lot of people out of conversation and take up a lot of time for people to figure out what people are really trying to say.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time, with our members breaking things down, particularly around legislation that's going to affect us. And this year in Maryland, we really had to advocate hard for funding to stay in our Developmental Disabilities Administration budget,
Mm.
because they were going to cut a big chunk out. I'm not really great with numbers, but it was going to be a huge chunk, and it
Yeah.
was going to affect people's being able to access the services they needed, and it would really affect the direct support professionals that play such a
Mm.
big role in our lives. And so we really had to be very active with writing letters, being present, showing up for hearings, even if people weren't going to testify, to say, me too, this affects my life. And what we really try to do is we educate our members that we have to be bipartisan, which means we can't pick a side. We can't say who's right or
Mm.
who we think is wrong. We
Mhm.
really have to just educate our members that no matter who gets in, whether it was the elected official you wanted voted for or not, we need to still educate, and we need to still educate ourselves about how things would affect us. A lot of candidates have disability platforms that they run on and things that they say that they will do for the community.
Right.
So we try to look at those. We, when our governor was running, we had a forum online for both candidates to be able to share. Um, we we do voter registration and education,
Mm-hmm.
and we really say that voting is a right, but it's also a responsibility because
Yeah,
you can't complain about something if you're not involved.
that's
And
right.
yes, it's hard sometimes because in the disability community we experience, obstacles sometimes that other people don't have to deal with. But
Right.
this is so important to be involved in voting and then be involved in getting to know your elected representatives, whether they're the ones you wanted there or not, so you can keep educating and building relationships because it's
Yeah.
so important to build connections. And for people to see, particularly right now with all the changes at the federal government, to see that people with disabilities have a lot to offer.
That's
We
right.
Absolutely.
we need we need support, but if we get the right supports, we can live our greatest lives, and
That's
we
right.
Yes.
grow and develop just like everybody else, and we can
That's
be
right.
valuable members of the community. And I think that's sometimes hard for people to see until we get involved and they get to know us,
Yeah.
and we get to know our power too,
Hmm.
because I think so often for people with disabilities, that old motto of protect us, take care of us, and keep us safe, and we all need that, all of us. But
Mm-hmm.
we also need opportunities to grow and learn and be our best selves, because even
Yes.
people that communicate in all different ways, everybody in the world communicates,
That's
and
right.
and we all deserve the right to build connections with people and relationships, and the relationships that people have with their families aren't going to be the same as with our peers, and we learn a lot by just being connected with other people like
That's
us.
correct. Yes.
So I understand what you were saying as far as the DDA. Like we were talking offline, my daughter is about to turn 21. So that's a process that I'm going through. And I will say, just like I said offline, um, I didn't really understand what that process looked like. But when I was in that partnership program and they had different people, including you and Matt, to come and educate me, I feel like I'm ready to go through that transition and I don't feel afraid anymore because I honestly did not understand. And this is where that education comes in. This is where you can never have too much information. That's how I feel. But this is where that came in. So when you were talking about the DDA and you were saying the things that you guys had to do, tell us a little more about that process, and did you all see that it made a difference as far as you all advocating for that program?
We had a rally along with our partners. Well, our partners kind of set up the rally, and it happened like in 3 days. And we had over 1,000 people show up that get services, that are eligible for services, that say that came to speak and support, and the power and the energy in that night. Thankfully, it wasn't too cold, but it was cold enough. But the power, you just felt like, because sometimes working through all the systems and fighting for things, because it's very, budgets are very tight now, and our state is going
Yes.
through a difficult time, and
Yeah.
everybody's fighting to keep whatever they can keep. But the developmental disabilities community has worked so hard and come so far to to be able to make sure that people live, work, play, and feel parts of their community and
Yes.
able to contribute to their community. Um, and by taking money out of the budget, like I said, those direct supporters are really the ones that are keen in making things happen, for people, and the everyday life, day to day things that are
Hmm.
really important to people. And so a lot of them came out and shared their stories about supporting people and how important that was. And um, Maryland has done such a great job of really trying to make direct support professionals a a career that people can choose, because for a
Yes.
long time people really couldn't, that were really good at and gifted at their job and gifted at connecting with people and supporting people, couldn't stay in those roles. They would get promoted to managers and away from those roles. And those, like I said, those people are really the people, the direct supporters are the people that make the day to day things
Hmm.
work for people in their lives, and can really make a difference, uh, whether people are able to live their best lives. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be definitely be a big cut. And I don't think a lot of people like me, before my daughter was turning 21 and just being educated on that process. I think when you hear DDA, you think it's so far away, or you really don't understand the
Right.
significance of, the input in your child's, where your young adult, what in their transition. But to cut that DDA budget, even to cut the autism waiver, some of those things, those are really it's a big cut. It prohibits a lot of families from doing the things that they need to do for their special needs individuals. So those things are so important. And for those that don't know, tell us what DDA is, because I want everybody to. I know we talk a lot of acronyms.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what DDA is?
the Developmental Disabilities Administration um, provides services through waivers, um, and supports for people. They can be job supports, they can
Mhm.
be uh, exploration supports about if I don't know what kind of work I want to do or what kind of job I maybe want to have. Really looking, Maryland is a employment first state, so they really worked hard to a few years ago. I want to say 2016, but I'm not exactly sure. Um, we People in the go worked really hard um, to get rid of sub minimum wage in Maryland, which is a process where a lot of people used to go to into day program settings, and um, they would have contracts, the providers would have contracts for like putting the things that you see like in bubblegum machines or those little toy machines in the store where you put a quarter in, or maybe it's 50 cents now and you get this thing out. And um, it and people would get paid very less than minimum wage to put those pieces together with the support of their staff. And we really believe in people on the go, and we really believe that people with disabilities should be paid uh, just like everybody else for
That's
the
Yes.
right.
work that they do.
That's
And
right.
you know and providers are really working hard, and the state is really working hard for to make sure that they're building connections with the the business communities, so that
Hmm.
they know about people with disabilities, and see what people with disabilities really can offer and bring to a business. And so, but getting rid of that sub minimum wage, because a lot of times people would go straight from school into 30 years of that day placement
Mm.
where,
Mm.
and that's what they did. And when I got out of school, I like to say that I'm 20. I used to say that I'm 21 forever, but this year's been kind of rough. So I actually turned 22 this year. And in in doing that, you know, I when I first got out of school, there wasn't an ADA,
Mm.
and things were a lot different. And I went to one of the day programs where you get evaluated, and they were really, they loved to put labels on people back then, and I hope that
Mm.
they still don't. But I got one of those high functioning labels, and maybe I could work in that kitchen and maybe with the cash register. And although I saw a lot of my friends, people that I went to school with, that isn't what I went to school to do. Was to go in another school look like building and just hang out with people like me. And so I became a couch potato for a while, and that wasn't great. And then I went and tried to go go to college and get into college, and my mom went with me. And the lady pulled my mom aside, and she said, "This isn't the place for your daughter. There are places for people like your daughter, and I can help you find them, but this isn't the place." And so that really affected me, because I was like, well, if here isn't the place, I got my diploma, I did what I was supposed to do,
Right.
and now I want to do something else. And what I found for me was I really liked connecting with kids, and I didn't find out till I got involved with people on the go why that was. But kids are taught to be scared of differences. Kids don't come out, and you kids are very honest about what they don't know and what
Mm-hmm.
they want. They ask their questions, and they either like you for who you are, or they don't like you.
Right.
And I love that. I was like, and before I was a mom, I guess I was kind of stalker kids. Like if I was in the grocery store, I would, you know, you'd hear, "Mom, what's that? Well, what's she in? What's she doing?" And, you'd hear, "Oh, honey, come on, let's go over here. We got to go do this." And I'd be like, "No, I really want to answer that question if you let me. I
Oh,
really," and so I thought for a long time that I wanted to be a preschool teacher, because I realized that, I went through special ed, and I wasn't as smart as maybe some of my cousins. And I learned that through family gatherings, because people used to always ask my cousins, what they wanted to be when they grew up. But nobody
Mm-hmm.
ever, in my family, ever asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up.
wow.
Mm.
So I didn't, you know, and that happens for a lot of people with
Yeah.
disabilities, because a lot of it's unknown, like you say, parents are just trying to find their way, and they come from a system where there's lots of entitlements. But then, even with the entitlements in the school system, you still have to know what you're entitled to, and how
That's
to.
right.
I listen to
Yes.
your podcast, and how to push to get those things.
That's
So
right.
when you hit the adult world, and I, for a long time, I was kind of, like you said, I went through the same partners in policy making. And for a long time, I was kind of mad at my parents, because I thought, why didn't why didn't you do more? Why didn't you help me make sure that I got more out of school? And then
Mm-hmm.
what I learned now from being a parent is you really do the best you can.
You
And
do.
Absolutely.
You
my
do.
my oldest used to say, every time he got a new toy, he would say, he was talking about the instruction manual, but he would say, "We got to get the correction manual." And so I jokingly say, "Boy, I wish my kids came with a correction manual or instruction manual. This
I'm
is
with
what
you
you
on
get."
that, Tracy.
And so, but when as I started to get to know other parents, I realized one, that it must have been really hard for my parents because back then there wasn't as much available, and even now that things are available, it's hard for people to get connected and know, and
Absolutely.
you have to be in the know to get what you need.
You
So
have to be in the know. That is so true. I mean, you just talking about some services that your state can provide. And one of my kids, my oldest daughter, is 25, and she was receiving services from the state, like job coaching, job exploration,
yes,
and she was attending workshops to help her figure out where she fits. And, just so happened, I asked the agency that was working with her, like, hey, I have a kid. He's about to be a teen. He's a teen, and, he has an IEP. Is this like just for, like select? Do they have to be in certain programs or something? And he just said, no, this would be your son would be eligible for this as well. And so from that point, I just start contacting who works with my daughter, just asking questions like, can you point me in the right direction? And I'll take it from there. And then when I get back to the same gentleman who has helped me with my daughter, and I'm like, here I am, I'm here with my son, getting job exploration, job coaching, workshops to help him. I told him, thank you. But I said, how would I've known this? And
yeah,
he said, in my position, that is the hardest place to be because I can't always divulge everything I know because then he was like, he would be the go to for stuff that has nothing to do with what he does on a daily basis. It has to do with different agencies, and people will probably keep reaching back to him as a resource. And so he says, I really try to stay in my lane and work with the agency I work with, and I can direct them to that. That's about it. And I said, but it's just so unfair as a caregiver, as a
Mm,
mother, as a parent, as a guardian, when they're trying to help their kids. It seems like when you get when you break through a barrier, you're like, all of this is here. But
yeah.
if you don't break that barrier, if you don't push through, if you don't ask certain questions, if you don't know someone or know what to ask, you feel so in the dark about stuff that your state offers. And that's why I love that we do these podcasts, because it lets people know you might not be a resident of Maryland, but maybe if you're a resident of Florida or North Carolina, like try to start researching and see what resources are available to your individuals that you're caring for, because people really don't know. I mean, Paula and I've been on podcasts and we're like, oh my gosh, what, we've never known
yeah.
that, or we didn't hear that. Like, it's so much information, and sometimes that information can be overwhelming, but it's a step by step. And sometimes it's like, what does the individual that you're caring for need, or the
Yeah.
individual that you're looking after, that what is their need, and then you could kind of start pivoting from there. But it's so much out there. And Tracy, it's like, it feels like it's not attainable sometimes. It just feels like you can't always access it like you wish you would. If you go to your state website, that may not be a hyperlink on there. So how would someone know about people on the go? Where would they look to find you? Do they have to be at an expo? Do they have to be at an event that where you would be presenting? Like, how would they
Well,
just find an
well,
agency, like?
well, we like I said, we have our own website, and a lot of the
Mhm.
partner organizations we work with um, have links to us on their website. Um, but it brings me back to thinking, and we really have to give ourselves grace as parents, give ourselves grace as individuals, because it is a lot.
It
And
is.
you know the thing that keeps me going is one, that I hope to leave the world a little bit better off than I found it, after in my little world of people with disabilities. And I hope to just connect with people and connect with parents and young people particularly, because the
Mhm.
first time I was called ma'am, I turned around, looked for the old person, and they were referring to me. And I, you know, I want people not to have to feel like, because I didn't understand all parts of my disability.
Mhm.
When I have problems with processing information, and I also use a power wheelchair for mobility, and I didn't know about the processing information. So a place like People on the Go, when I got out of school, because I was uh, educated with a lot of people with similar needs like mine, because that's what we tend to typically do. So I didn't think people that had different support needs could ever really teach me anything, that there was a
Mm.
space for me. And what they taught me was there was a space for me, and I had so much to learn. And I'm still learning from people that, again, people would say, wow, that's fine for people like you, Tracy, because you communicate well. I'm learning from people that communicate in alternative ways about things. I'm
Yes.
learning from people that traditionally would have, you know, only been able to live in a group home setting with other individuals like themselves that are now business owners, and
Mm.
and but I remember going to my first People on the Go meeting, and um you know being told there were certain people I should try to connect with there, and I didn't know much about different types of disabilities. And this one gentleman I was told to connect with, it was a person with autism, and I made my business that I sat at his table because I wanted to get as much information as I could. And he got up and he started walking around the table, and I thought, I don't know. I showered today. I maybe I had something for lunch that that doesn't smell too good. And he started to tell me how he was really interested in dating, and he thought that his agency only wanted him to go out and be friends with his roommate. And that's
Mm.
another thing, that people with disabilities want to build all kinds of relationships
That's
Yes.
and
right.
should be empowered to do so, because we all want to be loved and
That's right.
appreciated in different ways. And so, but it was again there that I learned that this man has been one of the leaders of People on the Go and taught me so much. But what I learned from him was he was a bit like reading a book backwards, because he told
Mm.
me what he thought his agency wanted, and what he was scared of, and
Mm.
and then I finally got to, well, he really wants to have a girlfriend, and he wants to, you know, make a bigger network of friends than just his roommates.
Mhm.
And now he has been married to one of my other friends who came and spoke at my partner's class about, on a
Wow.
national level, about self advocacy. And what was funny about my friend was he had, just like everybody else that gets married, he had ideas about he needed to get a job, he needed to buy a house, then he was going to get married, and then he was going to have kids. Well, um, they live in an apartment because my friend, she didn't want to buy a house. They have a cat because she's an advocate that goes uh, around the world and around the country, educating on advocacy. So their journey, just like everybody else, was different than what he thought it was going to be. But their
Mhm.
journey has been amazing.
Wow.
And I just, and Matt Rice, our executive director, he owns his own home. He was told that he would never be able to live on his own. He owns his own home. He has support. He's our executive director, and we're getting ready to go through our, we're going through our nonprofit status, and it's just so to hear from people that we can't do things. It took me 10 years to go to college and get a degree, but I got a degree. And
Amen. I
Hey,
love it. I
so,
love it, Tracy.
yeah, I just think that people, when you get connected with peers and you learn about the importance of advocating, because everybody in the world advocates for something.
that's right.
That's how change happens.
That's right.
Um, so, and being connected with a group like People on the Go, where everybody is included and everybody is encouraged and everybody, there's no limits put, we don't put limits on each other, and we
Hmm.
encourage each other. And it's just been a really great experience. And I just want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to get connected in a way that they feel and get as much information as they feel they want. Because I was a toddler and advocacy when I started, and I still think maybe I'm a middle schooler now in advocacy, but there's still so much to learn. And, and the great thing is, People in the Go, we're really making spaces for people to develop their own
Mm,
niches for what they, and get the supports and ways to develop those things. Because you wouldn't believe it if you'd known me way back when, but in my partner's class I didn't speak much because I was afraid you were going to know how unsmart I
Oh,
felt I really was. And I loved people, so that was, made me always feel kind of mad, because I was like, but if we start a conversation and it goes to different topics, I may get confused and then I can't keep up, and then so I wouldn't talk. So I just think that everybody can grow and everybody deserves
yes,
the opportunity to grow in any way they want. And people with disabilities also deserve the right to make mistakes and learn from
that's
them.
right.
And James Orman, our program coordinator who does training with me, he says that, you know, I don't, I don't learn much for things that I do terrifically. I learn when I make those mistakes.
I love.
Mm,
I like that.
And so it's just, I I think I really think that people, just like parents, need to be as connected as they can, to learn as much as they can, and to be in as involved as you can be. Because at different times of your life, you can have more bandwidth or more time that you can spend on certain things, and then there's other times that you're just like, you know what, I need to give myself a break. And that's
that's
why
so true.
we need to continue building um, on our leaders. And everybody has, each unique story has something to offer. Each of
Mhm.
our journeys has something to offer. And by making sure that more people learn that there's places to share those things, there's ways to feel connected, there's ways to feel supported, and there's ways to get information. That's
Hmm.
why things like your podcast is so great, because you cover a lot of different topics,
Yeah,
and you give people more information and ways to learn more when they're ready and if they're ready.
I
that's so
love.
true.
I love it.
That's
So
so
people
true.
want to go to me from what I hear. It serves so many different purposes. Of course,
Hmm.
it's going to open up your understanding to the laws, the legislative, and different things that you can do to, stand up for yourself. But I also love the fact that you empower. And that's one of the things that advocacy does is empower, because I love too that you said we have a lot of members. You have over 500 members. However, there's still room for someone else to come in and develop into what they want,
Mm-hmm.
because there's still whatever. For my daughter's name is Morgan. There's Morgan serves a purpose for being here. It
Yes.
may not be the same purpose that my son served, but we have to understand that we have to support those people in their, their desires. And just like you say, one thing about it is getting them out there. And I know one thing her school does, now that she's transitioning over to the DDA program, they're trying to find what she's interested in. And like you
Mm-hmm.
say, Tracy, back in the day, that wasn't even an option. That wasn't something that you were even given a choice to say, hey, what are you interested in? It was just something that you were pushed into, like, yeah, that's where they're supposed to be. They don't have any hopes to go anywhere else. But I love the fact that a lot of people are changing with that mindset. It's like, we're going to do a rotation. Let's see what she's interested in so that she can tell us what she wants to do. And even though we say, we talked about this too, Tracy, offline, is that she's nonverbal, but she still verbalizes very well.
Yeah.
She may not be able to speak it like me and you, but if I take my daughter somewhere and say, let's go here, one day I took her out on her bike, and I said, come on, I had the bike in the garage, moved the car out, put her adaptive tricycle out there. She came out the door, saw that tricycle, and walked right back in the house and slammed the door.
Real clear communication.
And that was clearly a way for her to say, I'm not interested in riding a bike today. But there's another time she comes out and she smiles and she gets on the bike without me kind of prompting her, hey, Maureen, let's get on the bike. Hey, let's get. She gets right on that bike, like, I'm ready to ride the bike today. So I think, with people on the go, it's really showing people that you really need to get up and get moving. When you say people on the
Yeah.
go, get up and get moving. Get up, like you say, you could have been a couch potato. You could have sat there, been a little down, and said, listen, I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this and that. But I love the way that you made it happen. So people on the go, even though you say you're learning a lot, you're teaching a lot as well. And
Yes.
I
Well, I
really like
think,
it. You're empowering.
yeah, and we all aren't the same people we were yesterday because
That's right.
we've gotten more information. We may have gotten a new perspective because we understand things in a different way. And people with disabilities deserve that opportunity too. I have great friends that are advocates that could never sit through an advocacy meeting, but they've taught me a lot about the importance of advocating. They've taught me a lot about me just through learning and getting to know them. So, everybody has value. Everybody has something unique to contribute. We just have to let people find those and provide spaces for people to explore those opportunities and figure out
Absolutely.
what they want to be and what they want their life to look like.
I feel like there are times where I notice families who, it made me feel of a way about my oldest daughter, because when she was younger and learning about her challenges and the things that, it made me think her future was very like grim.
Mhm.
Like, if she worked, will she be cleaning toilets? Because
Mhm.
it seemed
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that was the job. When I go into a fast food restaurant, that's who I saw doing it.
that's
And
right.
it seemed like is that only what's available? And so I knew families who didn't allow the
Mhm.
person that their loved one to work because they didn't want to do that. And it seems very demeaning unless it is something that the individual wants to do, because that
Mhm.
could be their niche, cleaning.
yeah,
But if not, it does seem demeaning, like this is how much you're worth. Like, you could do this. And that would bother me. And to know that as the years have gone by, and to see that I see people in my community, in the community I live in, I see them everywhere. They're working at the coffee shop. They're not
Yeah,
just greeters at the grocery store. They're doing inventory. They're shelving things. Just they are included in the community because they belong there.
that's right.
They should feel like they belong. They shouldn't feel other than. And that's how I love how when you say that people are valuable assets to the community and they help everyone. They help us learn to have compassion, empathy, to get along with one another, to show kindness, to be a helping hand. And so I always say, and I know Paula and I have these conversations where, we're thankful, if not for the children in our lives. I mean, I wouldn't be a mean person, but I think it has just like my heart has just
Mhm.
embraced my heart has been tenderized, and my heart also has been strengthened to advocate not just for my kid, because when I used to go into the classroom with my teachers, I would say, well, when I advocate for my kid, your whole class benefits.
Mhm.
I'm not just coming in here saying my kid needs this, my kid needs that. When I do say that, you are able to be the best teacher you can be because I have voiced concerns that my kid get the additional resources they need, and it helps you to continue your day, and you can be the best teacher for all the students, and it helps the students in the classroom. And it helped that she got that picture, and work with me. Don't work against me. I'm not against you. I'm here to work with you, because not only does my kid, they deserve a chance at being successful. They deserve their chance being here too. They
Yeah,
deserve a chance being here. And it's also like knowing their potential. I feel like I'm in a little the thick of it, like, well, okay, I have a high schooler. You wonder what's the potential? What is it that you want to do? I'm trying to gauge, his thoughts. Do you want to go to college? Do you want to learn a trade? Do you know what a trade is? Do you know? Like, I want him to be able to have he should have as many options as the next person, where he gets to decide, not society put him
yeah,
in a box, but he gets to decide. And that's what I'm hearing about people on the go. We are empowering not only individuals that may have disabilities, but come on, people, caregivers,
Yeah.
guardians, parents, come on, so you can get on board, so you can be there to help your individuals as well, so they can be in the best position as they move along in life. And that's why it's important that we need to know the bills and what's going on and how
Mhm.
we're being affected, and if your school district or your state, like that is important information to be in the know about, so you know who to contact, who to write, who to call, when to show up, you know at your state capitol or wherever. It's just so important. And I think that what the work that you're doing is just so helpful to the greater community, to the
I agree.
greater community.
I
wow.
totally agree.
We benefit, and what we've learned to people on the go is we benefit from being involved in as many places as we can be, and as we're growing, you know, um, we have an offshoot program. James Orman, our program coordinator, started. He got his diagnosis late in life,
Mhm.
and he is a person with autism, and he started Autism on the Go. So, Autism on the
Mm.
Go has a lot of programs that we do together, and then they have specific programs for people with autism. And
Mhm.
it's just been a great, you know, growth is a great thing, and being
Yes.
connected. And um, we've done a lot around learning about ableism. That's another thing, because
Mm.
we can all be guilty of ableism,
Mhm.
thinking that people belong are most safest in these little places in our lives, and this is where people belong. But we really have to push ourselves outside. I think of it as pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. And
Yes.
as a mom, I know that's hard because I know with my own kids, I'm like, well, I don't want them to have to experience,
Hmm.
being hurt and not being successful. But if they do, then I I'm going to be there to help support them through it. But they have to experience it on their own.
I agree.
And that is what people with disabilities need to do with the right support. Make Have an opportunity to make mistakes, learn from them, grow from them, and then share it with others. And
Hmm.
I think that makes us a better communities as all. And there's so much that all people can contribute to make this world a better place. And people with disabilities can be very much have a big role in that, making this world
Yes.
a better place. We
Now,
need more people with disabilities to be elected officials and
Yes.
run for office,
that's right.
and
I
family
remember Matt,
members.
didn't Matt do something with the governor's debate?
Yeah, he moderated.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Yeah,
he did. And he did a great job.
yes. And so, you know, those are things. And we in Maryland, we have a elected representative, a delegate with cerebral palsy,
Hmm.
um, in our legislator. And he's very passionate about our community, but he says he doesn't want to be the delegate only known for the
That's
bills
right.
about disabilities. He
Right.
wants
That's
to
right.
be a delegate known for bills that are going to better his whole community.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Now, did anybody ever find out, like, was your mom, did she get to see that you got your degree?
Yeah, she did. She did. And it was a great experience. I was very close to going on to do my bachelor's, and I was very close when I got pregnant with my second son, and I was working, so there wasn't enough time for everything. But I hope someday to go back and finish. But even if I don't, my life experience degree, I hope to have a master's in life experience by the time I get done.
I
Um,
know that's right.
and just, I love how getting connected with other peers and learning about other people's experiences with other types of support needs has just opened up a whole world for me because we can be kind of in our own little silos of places where
Hmm.
we we only think about people with this type of support need or that, and we're stronger together, we're so much better
Yes.
together. And 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 so I think my master's degree in life is going to be more important than the book education I can get, because I love learning every day. And I was once accused by a family member of thinking that my job was more just as important as the president. And to me, it is,
I
to
love it
the
because it
greater
is.
good of people,
Yes.
particularly people with disabilities, because we just got to keep pushing forward, and we can't let things slide. And we're getting ready to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the ADA, which
Hmm.
younger kids don't know what it's like to be totally segregated,
Mm-mm.
and only have to go to these certain places and only do this kind of work. People with disabilities are business owners now, and
That's
Yes.
right.
representatives, elected representatives, and moms and dads and family members and contributors, and just a part of the community. And we don't have to be separate. Separate is never equal. and we all should be able to have the same disability rights are human rights, and
Yes.
human rights should be given to us all as people. And um, so I really hope that that's what People in the Go continues to push to do and continues to grow. And I know I've left out so much. I can't believe I wondered how we would possibly fill this time, and I can't believe it's almost over. And
Yes.
our
It always,
members, our members,
everybody
and
does that.
my boss Matt and James will probably say, "And you should have mentioned this and that." And there's so much, but we'd love for people to get connected with us, to come try some of the things out, to get on our mailing list, to learn more about People on the Go, to give us feedback, um, to offer us new opportunities. We would love to partner and do things. So
Yeah. Now, what's
just
the website for people on the go?
Yes.
People on the Go, Maryland.
Okay. I'm gonna put that in the people on the go, Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that .com?
.org.
Okay, .org. Okay. So definitely this is a great way for people to stay in touch. It's a
Yes.
great way for people to know what's going on in the community. So for all of those that want to know what's going on, that want to know what's going on with the laws and stuff, how often do you guys meet? So we want to make sure that everybody knows about the meetings and
We
so that they can stay on point with all of this.
What you need to do is go and sign up on our website to get like our newsletter, and get our communications about all our meetings that come out, because we have bi-weeklies every Friday on different topics. We have monthly member series where different members talk about their different experiences and share things that they're involved in. We have monthly policy meetings where
Mm.
we feel that we need to stay, and they're all virtual, so you can join from other states.
Oh,
You
I'm
can,
gonna
Okay.
definitely sign up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I want to
there's
sign up
just
myself
a,
for sure.
a I do a parents group that was started for people with disabilities, but parents of people with disabilities have
Hmm.
started to join. So there's so many. There's a transportation group. There's so many opportunities for people to get involved, and we're always open for new ideas and, like I said, new partnerships and new ways to help people get connected with other things. So, and
I
our
love it.
monthly members here, or bi-weekly, you might want to consider coming and telling us about what you guys do and why you guys do this podcast,
Yeah.
Oh,
and some of the
definitely.
other things you've promoted through your podcast, so that
Hmm.
people can learn more about that, and if there's ways that maybe people could get involved and support your podcast efforts.
That would be
Oh, that would be
great.
awesome.
I'm
Hmm.
definitely going to sign up because I definitely want to get more involved. And I mean, you hear about the laws here and there, but I definitely want to get involved. So, for all of our listeners that want to get involved, that want to be empowered, that want to feel like you're in a community, go to People on the Go, Maryland.org, sign up, get a part, get out there, get involved, and get empowered. I definitely will be
Yeah.
because that's the main thing too of us just getting together, partnering so that we can be each other's backbone. We can be, what is it when they say you have to be each other's keeper? I love
Yes.
that. Even for those caregivers and parents, whoever is out
Yes.
there, so that you can get information, please go to that, sign up so that you are aware of what's going on in your community. So those are my
Yes.
closing remarks, and I want to thank you so much, Tracy, for being on here. I'll give Crystal a time to close out, and then Tracy, you can close us out.
Oh, Trace, I've enjoyed you. I've enjoyed the information that you've shared with our community about what People on the Go Maryland is doing and the different opportunities, the segues that y'all have, that they can get involved and they can also get support. And I think being a caregiver or being a person, a parent with a disability, that is, much needed, the support level. And so I just think that you guys are doing an amazing job. And
Mhm.
I would definitely encourage, especially residents of Maryland, to get connected. I have a lot of family in Maryland. And so this is information that I pass along. They do watch the podcast. And I think this would be very, very helpful, very helpful. So I really appreciate you, spending your time with us on this evening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me and having people on the go and being interested in people on the go. Come and grow with us and help us learn together to
Yes.
be even better organization as we move forward in Maryland. And maybe you can start an organization similar in your state if your state doesn't already have one.
Right.
We'd love to help do that. Um, so please stay connected, and I can't wait to hear from people.
Yes. Well, this is not the last time we will see each other,
Oh,
Tracy. I can
absolutely
guarantee
not.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
thank
Well,
you
thank you
so
guys for joining us tonight, and we appreciate you. We will have another show on next Thursday, and I appreciate Tracy for being with us. I appreciate Crystal, and I want to have tell everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you
Yes.
next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.